Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Raffi, and as always, joined by my good pals, Theodore and Davian. Boys, we had a great week of NFL football, a great week of college football as well. First, before we begin, I need to have two things. First off, Josh Jacobs, I love you so much. Single-handedly saved my fantasy team. Start of the season, first round pick was Najee Harris, so Josh Jacobs, I love you. Second off, sorry, I'm going to have my Stephen A. Smith moment, but how about those Yankees, boys? How about them? Yes, let's go. I'm not going to write a research paper about why the Yankees are good. I don't have to do any of that. Let the Yankee salt pour down from your eyes. I'm very happy right now. Go
Yeah,
Phillies.
look, that's tough and all, yeah, I'm sad they lost. 6-1 though. The New York Football Giants are going to the Super Bowl. So yeah, look, I'm mad the Yankees lost, but Big Blue all the way. We're going to Vegas, I believe, where the Super Bowl is being held.
You guys can definitely buy tickets. They have plenty of money, I'm sure, to pay for tickets.
Raffi, you're a comedian, Raffi. You are so funny.
I know. And then we have Davian as well. Davian, we'll just kick things off right away. Is there a QB controversy in New England?
No, Bill Belichick is just stupid. It's plain and simple. I'm gonna control myself. Okay, but look,
The
you
effing
don't
New York Knicks.
bench your starting QB, your franchise QB, after he throws an interception, which hit off the freaking ESPN Sky Cam. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it bounced off the Sky Cam and just went down. Look, point is that it was a terrible move. Mac Jones was coming back from an injury. He needs that confidence, and by benching him, he lost all confidence. I don't care what Belichick says, like, oh, we were going to play both of them either way. No, you weren't. It doesn't make any sense. Zappe did not play well whatsoever. Yes, he had that one touchdown drive where Jacoby Myers just got wide open, and that was just a failure on the Bears secondary, which I will give them credit. The Bears defense played really well. As for the Patriots defense, they just couldn't really stop Justin Fields, and I don't really understand why. This is a Bears team that's not very good. So just a failure on all parts for the Patriots.
Imagine saying that the Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears offense had a great game. My goodness, I don't think I've heard those words in so long. Justin Fields is playing well for the Bears. The Bears offense is doing stuff. The Blackhawks are 4-2 for some reason. I have no idea what's going on in Chicago. Only one thing: the world might be ending because Chicago sports teams are coming back right now and doing unforeseen things. I am not complaining. They did better than my Falcons did this past weekend, who got absolutely slaughtered by Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow put up a fat 40, almost 40 on me in fantasy, but luckily, my love, Josh Jacobs, carried me through the week and got me a win. So now I'm 2-5 in fantasy, one game out of the playoffs still. So that's that. Theodore, I know before the show you really wanted to talk about the LA Lakers. I'm going to give you the floor because one thing that I enjoy more than making fun of the Yankees is making fun of LeBron James and the LA Lakers.
Yeah, I think we all do. Look, this is a team that I tried. I talked at length about our NBA season preview, and I think most of what I said still holds up. This is hands down the most entertaining team in basketball right now because you just never know what to expect. I mean, Russ, I love you. I love this man, but how are you going to go 0 for 11 in a game and, just every headline that comes out? The whole team's airballing threes. They're like 22% on the year. LeBron and AD look like they've given up too at this point. They were poorly coached. There's just going to be controversy every game they play, and honestly, I'm here for it.
All right, I have a quick question though, because I did not do my research entering this podcast. What is the status of the Lakers' first-round picks over the next few years? Have they traded those all still? Are those all?
Yeah, they've traded almost all of them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Now, I think a bunch of them have a bunch of them have top 5 protections and stuff, but yeah, odds are they're not picking in the first round for a while.
Yeah, the Lakers are a shit show, to put it in the best ways. Russell Westbrook, never been a fan. Theodore and I have hashed it out about him back and forth. But I will agree with Theodore on one thing. I think we can both agree on this, that he needs to be traded.
Yes.
Westbrook just does not fit in the system. They need shooters. They're looking for Terry Rozier, so go for him. Trade Westbrook for Terry Rozier. Maybe get a few picks for Westbrook. I don't really know how that trade works out. I do not know how Terry's been playing, really. Scary Terry. But they need a shooter, and I feel like Terry Rozier is their answer, and Russell Westbrook needs to go. I think that's what the Lakers need to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just time where I think they've entered a time that a lot of sports teams reach where it's like you get to a point where regardless of what you do, things just don't click together. And at some point, this is like the last resort, by the way. At some point, you just got to make a move to make a move. And I think the Lakers are at
Yeah.
that point where they just need to do something and try to shake this up right now because it's been clear the past few seasons that this is not going to work for them, and they still continue to do insane things like bash their head against the wall and say, "Oh, maybe this year will work. Maybe this year will work. Let me trade my first round pick this year. Let me trade." It's like at some point you got to just take a step back. I know it's a big market, but I'm just saying.
Well, that thing is, because they're the big market, I think that's why they've hung on to Russ so long, because you want the huge name. You want the homegrown kid, too. Like, because, Russ grew up right in California, went to UCLA. Like, I thought this whole pairing made so much sense. It's just the lack of shooters. And also you're telling a guy who's been an alpha for so long, like, oh, you're the third option now. And, oh, you don't have anyone to pass to who can drain the three. And it was doomed from the start.
Absolutely. Any other surprise NBA teams that you guys want to touch upon? I know the Trailblazers beat the Lakers. That was kind of a
Yeah, the
surprise.
Trailblazers are undefeated, as are the Utah Jazz just lost, actually. But the Utah Jazz are looking great.
Yeah, my friend and I, we've been joking that like the Utah Jazz need to start losing because where they have now, I mean, well, you can argue whatever you want, but it's kind of like a fluke of a team. I feel
Yeah.
that they still need to go through the whole rebuilding process. I am moderately happy with my Knicks. They haven't been doing great at times, but they've been solid at times, and I'll leave it at that. RJ Barrett has not been playing well though.
What
He's
I will
very
say from one rebuilder that's doing well to start the season to another rebuilder who's starting the season off well, it's okay to win games. I think that's what
Yeah.
people are so mad at the Blackhawks for winning games. It's like, why are you? First off, you're not a fan if you're actively rooting for your team to lose.
Right.
And
Yeah.
second off, it's like there's no way the Blackhawks are. I would love for them to make the playoffs, and I'm sure Jazz fans would love to see their team in the playoffs. At some point, the team is going to fall off. The talent's not there. They don't have the high skill guys to carry you through the rest of the season. We all can agree on that. So it's just enjoy the winning while you have it, because the
Yes.
team, once other teams get their stuff together, they're going to get clobbered constantly. So it's like, if they're bought in, if they're playing well, that's the main thing I'm looking for as a Blackhawks fan. And Jazz fans should be the same way, where it's like, enjoy the wins. You don't know when the team's going to start to go south, so enjoy it while you have it for now. You know the
The
Jazz are going to
Thunder.
be up.
Yeah.
We know
Thunder,
the Blackhawks and Jazz are going to be bad. You don't need to
right. The Thunder were in playoff contention for 30 games last year. It was so fun watching as a fan.
right.
And then we still turned it around in time to end up with the number 2 overall pick.
Right. So,
Like,
yeah.
the Jazz, though, hear me out. The Jazz, as a team, with Danny Ainge as GM, who one of the best winners as general manager in the NBA right now, they have too good of a roster to lose. I honestly believe this. Mike Conley, he's older. He's still a very good point guard. Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, guys they got from Minnesota, solid players. Rudy Gay has turned it around in like the age of 35. Kelly Olynyk is balling now, and he's always been a solid piece. Maybe this is the right fit for him. And then the center of the team is absolutely Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton, as I said multiple times over the summer when no one signed him, is one of the best young players in the game. I fully believe is going to average over 20 a night and do great things. Lowry Markkanen also. They're a great pairing, and I think this Jazz team legitimately makes the playoffs.
The team I feel like could make it to the playoffs, but I don't think they go far. I think they still need another piece to this team to really be a good team.
Yeah.
And that is why I say I don't tell any team to tank. I hate tanking. I hate the whole idea of tanking.
Mhm.
But my point is that for the Jazz, let's say they sneak in through the play-in, they win the first series, get out the next series, whatever. Yes, it shows the Utah Jazz are a legitimate team, and everyone, consider them an underdog, increases fan sales, whatever you want to call it. But you don't get a good pick in the draft at the end of the day. Yes, you have a lot of picks from all the trades that you made, but still, you want to get a good pick. You want to be able to get. This basketball rookie class, it was looking pretty darn good.
Right.
Davian,
That's the same thing with
let's
hockey
go.
too. That's the exact same
Yeah.
thing where it's like, and the thing is too, it's all lottery. It's not like the NFL
Yeah.
where it's like if you're you want not like you want to be the worst team, but if you are the worst team, you're locked in 100% to that first overall pick. For hockey and
Right.
basketball, it's a lottery. So even if you are the worst team and do whatever you can, that still's I don't know for NBA. I'm pretty sure hockey's like an 18% chance. That's a
In the NBA team.
82% chance that you do not get the first overall pick. The odds are still
Yeah.
not in your favor.
And Raffi, in the NBA, the 4 worst teams all have identical odds in the number 1 overall pick.
Right. So you're
Right.
fighting.
Yeah.
The first being the worst team in the NBA, you could be I don't know like 2-80, but you're still gonna have the same odds as 3 teams that were like 16 and whatever. I don't know how many wins.
All it does is make your fan base miserable.
Right. And the
Yeah.
last,
Also,
I understand you don't want to be mediocre, but like you gotta. Again,
Right.
my big point that I'm trying to drive home is
Mhm.
if your team is supposed to be rebuilding and they're doing well like 8 games into the year, enjoy
Don't
it,
panic.
relax. The draft
Right.
classes are still really deep. You can get good quality players, especially in this NBA and NHL draft. They're absolutely loaded this year.
Yeah.
You can get good players outside the top 5, outside the top 3.
Look, in the NBA, people have done studies and looked at the numbers. That pick 12 to 17 range is a gold mine.
Right.
There are better players in that range than there are in that 6 to 11 range.
You're guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's a higher chance that you're guaranteed a star player if you pick in the top 5.
Mhm.
But 2012, it was all fail for Nail Yakupov. I don't know if you guys have gotten that deep into hockey culture yet. He sucked.
Yeah.
So it's unless it's Connor McDavid, this year Connor Bedard and Victor Wembanyama. Jeez, I need to learn how to say his name better. Those guys are lock franchise level players, but then again too, it's you never know.
They're not locks.
Yeah,
There's
I wouldn't
no
consider them
guarantee
locks, but
They
these
still
guys
have to
are
play the
gonna be
games. They still
beyond.
have to
Yeah,
play.
exactly.
So,
yeah.
but yeah,
Mhm.
I think.
What do we think about demotion system in sports?
Oh, I loved the idea that Adam Silver said. I mean, it doesn't.
Relegation? Is that what we're
NBA.
Relegation, yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense for basketball.
I didn't.
Think about it. We're gonna have a team that decides to tank is gonna get demoted to say the G League, right? They're gonna play there. The G League gets better. The G League gets more attention, and then reverse. I mean, look, there's some teams that have been playing really well. I mean, I'm a Knicks fan, so of course I follow also the Westchester Knicks. There's a really good team. I could see them competing with some NBA teams.
No.
But
Davian,
isn't that
with
more
all
of
due
that's
respect,
in my thing? That's kind of the an American hockey team playing against an actual hockey team. I don't know how the skill
Right.
gap is though, because
Yeah.
it's more of
Look.
it's more of a farm for hockey. The AHL is, but I don't know how the G League is. But even then, it's more prospects. I feel like it's not really
the system could work. The G League would just need a massive overhaul. Chris Boucher was a G League MVP. He's an NBA role player. Obviously, in this as of right now, any G League, any NBA team would go 82-0 in the G League.
No, I agree with that.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, so there definitely needs to be a lot of restructuring done because that's
maybe where the NBA team loses some of its players or something. In theory, I like the idea.
See, but then
I don't see it working
out
with the NFL
though, and then you'd have full signing and recruiting. I don't know. I just think if it was to be done, it would have been done back in the 60s or something. I just think that we're too far into it with American sports to really look towards that. I vibe with the idea. I don't hate it. That really just gets rid of the whole tanking thing. But
Yeah, it would just be like really expensive to do, I think, as well.
right,
I think it's a very good idea, just very expensive.
right, and then there's fan bases that like the Lakers had a bad year. You're demoting a top market to the a
Yeah, you just
smaller
can't do
thing,
that.
and that's just like
Right.
again, it works in England, it works in the European countries. I don't know if it would work the same in America, and the cost, as you were mentioning, Davian, to get it all together, to potentially lose like a team like the Lakers or, God forbid, your New York Knicks. Those are huge markets that you cannot be losing,
Right.
and then you'd be losing more money with as well. And then there's
They can take the Nets though. They can take the Nets. Nets are last in attendance in the NBA right now.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
loving it.
they'd be
Yeah.
more than happy to send out the Nets. I think
Yeah.
everyone right now would be more than happy to send out the Nets, but it is what it is. Moving on, I think we all can agree that we're rooting for the Phillies. Just want to touch on. I just want some thoughts from you guys. What went wrong for the Yankees? I'm not trying to make fun of you guys. I already did that many times the past week. I want to hear your genuine thoughts on what went wrong for the Yankees. There's been a lot of talk about the manager, Boone, Adam Boone, I think his first name is. But
Aaron,
I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on the Yankees.
it's I'm torn right now. My gut feeling is that this team, as it stands, is never going to beat the Astros, and even when the Astros have a down year, like you're going to lose to somebody. I think it's time to move on from Cashman, honestly. Just clean house at this point. You have talent on the roster. You have talent like Anthony Volpe and Jasson Dominguez coming up in the minors. I just think, like we were talking about earlier for the Lakers, it's time to make a move for the sake of making a move. The team's not good enough.
Right. I think it's just mediocre. It's not even mediocrity. Like the team isn't mediocre.
It's
just,
like it's Toronto Maple Leafs, as I think as our good pal that likes to make take
right. I mean, I would compare that to them, like the Maple Leafs, but even then, it's just like there's so much hype behind that. Like
the Yankees have had 28 winning seasons in a row.
Right.
Like that's just absurd. And in that time, or in the past 20 years at least, they have one World Series title.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show that October baseball is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like baseball is going to be doing a very big, the point is that with the way that baseball is situated, it's as if that now all of a sudden the regular season doesn't really matter.
That's kind of my thing as well. It's like, do we shorten the MLB season? It's 162 games. I feel like we can shorten it down, and it wouldn't make too big of a difference between like seeding and who's where and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Especially, my biggest problem is all the days off in the postseason. Like, you're playing a specific brand of baseball, the 5-man rotation and all that. And then we get to the postseason, and it's like that all goes away. Like, you're giving teams a week of rest.
Right.
Like, I just think that system needs, like, neither the Astros or Phillies will have played a game in 5 days by the time the World Series kicks off.
Right. But, I mean, that's just pure coincidence, I feel like, this time around. Like, that's something where you, like, I understand it, but I also, like, we see with hockey and basketball, like when a team after like NFL obviously has their own playoff structure, but for NBA and NHL, it's like once the round is over, then the next one begins. But unfortunately for the MLB, I mean, I guess you could move it up. Mm-hmm. If they didn't have like a set date, I guess you could have just moved it up and been like, okay, this round's over. We're gonna start Wednesday, for example. So we're gonna have to wait 2 days as we're recording on Wednesday, but we'll see what happens.
NBA teams are used to 4-day breaks in the regular season. Like, it's kind of a regular occurrence.
Well, it's also like a travel thing as well.
Yeah.
For just a lot.
MLB teams, like, I don't think there's ever a 2-day rest built in, and now you're taking a 5-day rest. Like,
see, it's a double-edged sword because on one hand, it's nice to have that week off, but then again, how many teams that had that bye have made it to the World Series? Only one. Mm-hmm. The Phillies have played essentially like throughout. I don't even know how many games they've had off. This is going to be the first time, likely this season, that the Phillies are going to have an extended break before another game. So we'll see how that plays. It's a double-edged sword as well, as I mentioned, because sometimes the rest can be good. Sometimes baseball, where you're constantly doing the same thing over and over, day in, day out, taking a couple days off might get you out of the funk. So we'll see if that has any effects Friday once the World Series begins. I want to move on before we wrap up likely with some NFL, or maybe we won't get to it. We'll see. I do want to talk a little bit about college football. Georgia's still number one. I personally still think Georgia should not. I don't know why Tennessee's not number one. They beat Alabama. I think they should be number one. Ohio State at 2, I vibe with. Clemson is my team this year that I'm praying on their downfall because they just do not deserve a college football playoff spot.
No, look, they played a great game against a very good Syracuse team. I see no problem.
They played a terrible game. They got bailed out at the end by officiating.
I mean, let's be honest. This Syracuse team
they should have won.
Ranked 16.
Syracuse should not have won that game in the first place. Clemson is better, but the way the game went, the officiating crew had a direct impact on the outcome of the game, and that's what's annoying me. Because you can't call one thing for one team, and 5 minutes later not call it for the other team. It's like Clemson had momentum. I get it. Clemson has the talent; they can win. I get it. Clemson's the better team, but it's just so frustrating when you see that happen. It happens at least once a year with Alabama. So,
let me just say, I think my biggest takeaway from this week in college football, there's no team that's invincible.
Yeah.
I think,
especially this year.
I also think a 12-team playoff would be absolutely insane this year.
100%. I completely.
Yeah, I think there'd be pure chaos everywhere.
See, I think another thing that I'd like to point out too is, well, first off, TCU. My goodness, they're doing great. I hope they win the Big 12 and go undefeated.
I know.
It would just be fun to see them. They're always coming back, a.k.a. Alamo Bowl. I think it was 2013 or 2014. Oregon. I want to make a quick point about Oregon because we all were like, oh, Oregon, oh, this, oh, that. They got blown out by Georgia. Oh, they're not good. Oh, this, oh, that. And they got dropped. I think they got dropped out of the rankings from that game.
Yeah, they did.
This is why, as I said, the past 9 weeks, don't do reactionary rankings. Oregon should have been at like 20, the lowest. There was no excuse for them to be dropped out of the top 25. I get it. They got blown out. But it's like they've shown the past couple weeks
That's
that
all
they
I got to say. That's all I got to say. I was right.
Davian didn't. I mean, we all know that Davian had them winning the Big 12 and Pac-12.
Yeah,
I did.
If I'm not mistaken, you also had Michigan in the top 4.
I did have Michigan in the top 4. Yes.
I mean, Michigan still. I still think Ohio State's the only team that I feel.
No. Look. Yeah. If Michigan beats Ohio State, I mean, I feel like Michigan goes to the playoffs.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah,
right.
Like, unless
I mean, I think we could all agree to that. If Michigan continues the way they're playing, right? They got. Let's see. I think they have Rutgers coming up at some point. Yeah, they got Rutgers this week. I mean, we'll have Rutgers, but that's gonna be a while. That's gonna be a win for them. Then Nebraska, Illinois is gonna be a very challenging game. I'll give Raffi some.
They're winning the Big Ten. No.
Yeah, and then it's the big Ohio State game at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. All I have to say is, first off, that week is I can't wait.
I know the schedule is absurd.
We will be doing World Cup talk next week. I'm very excited about that. We'll do our research for that. But I gotta say, although Michigan really impressed me versus Penn State with how they played. I feel like it was more of an indictment on Penn State than it was on Michigan. I just think Ohio State's the only team that I can confidently say at this point can go to the college football playoff. Because Tennessee, it would be a very Tennessee-type thing to beat Alabama, and then fall off at some point. So,
you guys, there's one thing that I'm really intrigued by in this whole playoff race is the idea of one. So, like, let's say, because Michigan plays Ohio State, one of them is going to lose. And the loser of that game is in all likelihood.
Because they don't get to go to the Big Ten championship.
One loss without a championship. Same with the loser of Georgia-Tennessee.
Right.
So what do you do with those two really, really good one-loss teams that didn't make a conference championship?
You put them in the Peach Bowl and all their talent leaves and doesn't play.
Because, if it's them or an undefeated Big 12 champ TCU, or them or a one-loss Oregon, those are really, really tough decisions to make.
Conference championships have proven to be held in a higher regard than being a one-loss team. I think we're all forgetting about Notre Dame. Theodore, wouldn't you agree that Notre Dame really does belong? They played a great game versus UNLV this past weekend. And I think that what is it, 3-3, 4-3. I think that they still have a chance. That any
My
ESPN
picks were still better than Desmond Howard's, though. Let the record show that at least.
let the record show as well that I may or may not have had Miami potentially making the college football playoff and winning the ACC. That was
Yeah.
if this podcast had a bunch of views and everything, that would be on Freezing Cold Takes, 100%.
Yeah.
Which I'd be quite honored to be on, by the way.
I would too.
Anyways, I think it's just going to be very open. Obviously, Oklahoma State fell off a little bit. USC, all day versus Utah. I'm really excited, though. Down the stretch, I mean, I'm looking through the rankings. Like TCU, then you have Wake Forest, who's not really...
Yes. Okay. Hear me out.
One sec. Syracuse, Illinois. You have a ton of schools that... Tulane, South Carolina. You have a lot of teams in the top 25 that you normally don't see in the top 25, which I just think makes this season even better as a whole. Theodore, you're excited.
Okay. Wake Forest
is winning.
Their only loss was to Clemson in overtime. Put Wake Forest in the top 4 if they run the table. I know it's not going to happen, but if by some miracle, it would be great to see.
They're playing the competition where they could definitely make a case. Obviously, they play at Louisville, who hasn't been good since Lamar Jackson left, and weren't very good before Lamar Jackson even got there.
Look, they have NC State,
North Carolina, Syracuse, and then they play at Duke as well. And Duke's actually been not a bad school this year as well. So,
I just think if they win all those games, which it'll be hard to do, but I'm really high on this team, as I've said so many times throughout the year. I think they deserve to be in, honestly.
I agree, but my thing is, I just don't feel like an ACC team is going to... I just don't think an ACC team this year is going to do anything in the college football playoff. I think that's your team that you put in and just gets absolutely manhandled by whoever the 1 seed is. I hope to be proven wrong, but I mean, an undefeated Clemson would clinch an ACC team inside the pack, or inside the Pac-12. What am I, Davian? Sorry.
We might be in an ACC, though, where if Clemson stumbles in any of their games, I think they still have to play UNC, right?
We've seen, though, the past couple of weeks that Clemson has stumbled. They've gotten
if they somehow lose again.
Wake Forest, you can make an argument that they could have lost. Syracuse, they could have lost. Florida State, they barely won. NC State was close for most of the game. This Clemson team, like how you said earlier, Theodore, a lot of these schools are just they're not as invincible as they were in the years past, where we can just say, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, done, or Clemson as well if you wanted to throw. And that's your 5. And then there's the people Notre Dame can also. And they're no. Davian, you haven't spoken in a little bit. I'd like to hear 2 words.
Roll Tide.
There we go.
Roll Tide.
I only worried for a second. I thought he forgot his line.
Yeah, I was a bit nervous right there. I was maybe he hasn't talked.
Nah. I've been it's been a tiring past few weeks. I'm applying to Michigan though. I have fingers crossed that I get in there and I can be a Wolverine.
How much are they paying you to? Sorry.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
That. My bad.
Shh. We don't talk about that.
Theodore, do you
want
to quick
before we move on to college football, I have one final point to make. One final absolute chaos-filled scenariyo.
Okay.
The South Carolina Gamecocks are still alive in the college football playoff race.
No.
Yeah. Spencer Rattler has turned it around.
No.
They beat A&M. They beat Kentucky back-to-back weeks. They have Tennessee and Clemson on the schedule in their 2 final games of the year. If they win both those games, how do you leave them out?
You say that they are not better than the other teams. I don't.
You just do. You just leave them out.
Look, they only have 2 losses.
Could they who do they play? Georgia?
No, they've who are their losses? That's a good question.
The problem
they're lost. Yeah, they got clobbered by Georgia and they lost.
They have 2 losses though right now. They're essentially out of it regardless.
Yeah, look, a 2-loss team that beats Tennessee and Clemson back-to-back weeks to close the season.
Yeah, but they lost to Arkansas.
Well, I still don't think Arkansas is that bad. But
they're not ranked.
Look, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Point being, this is going to be one of the craziest college football playoffs.
I can agree with
that. I think that
for sure
we can all agree on that. I'm so excited. Any underrated teams? I know, Theodore, you threw out your little case. But I still think Penn State's not out of it yet. Like, obviously, they got absolutely manhandled by Michigan. They haven't been.
There's no shot they compete with Ohio State.
We are Penn State. Also, quick shout out to UCLA. You guys cannot beat Oregon, and it's quite embarrassing. You guys really got to fix something. Chip Kelly, man.
I feel decent about UCLA still. It's gonna come. Like, look, the winner, if they and USC can both run the table up until their matchup, the winner of that game will really be in great shape to make the playoff.
I'm just fully expecting the Pac-12 and Big 12 to cannibalize each other. Like
I know. Like, I'm just praying that we get a one-loss champion there because I'd love to see USC, UCLA, or Oregon in the top four. I think any of them could make some noise.
Completely agree. All right, well, that will do it for this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Benchwarmer_sports. We've been rolling out. We've been getting a ton of views. You guys want to catch in?
Absolute bangers.
You guys want to say that you guys were there. You guys want to say you guys were one of the OGs before we really blew up. I mean, hopefully that doesn't.
Look, we just hit 250 followers. I'd say that's progress.
Right. So you definitely want to hop on the trend. Make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. There's a subscribe button right down there. You should hit it. Good things will happen. I promise. I can't give you like a cookie or anything, but I will appreciate you. And if I ever meet you, I'll give you a firm handshake. For Davian, for Theodore, we hope you enjoyed. We hope you enjoy not watching the Yankees in the World Series. That's all for this one, folks. Have a good one.
Peace.